comes to the time for topic discussion this week. And the theme for this week is traveling. I think everybody enjoys traveling. Who doesn't want to go somewhere to see something you have never seen, to eat something you have never eaten, to meet people you have never met and talked to before? So there is a lot for you to share with others for this week. And when it comes to traveling, and all the participants who join topic discussion can do this discussion in 4 different ways. And the first one, you can talk about it, whether traveling is important. First of all, if you think traveling is important, you can talk about why you think traveling is important and how does it help you. And I believe that most people would say that traveling is very important to them in their life, but it's time to think about why it is important and how does it help you in your life. And the second way to do the discussion is to talk about a traveling experience that you always remember, that is so unforgettable, probably because of the food, probably because of the people, probably because of the beautiful views in your eyes. So you can talk about an unforgettable traveling experience. The third way to do this discussion is to talk about a traveling plan in your mind. If you have never had an unforgettable traveling experience and you also think traveling is important, then you must dream about a traveling experience that is going to happen in the future. So talk about a plan in your mind, and you probably want to go to a country to meet your idols. You probably want to go to a city to enjoy the most delicious food in the whole world. So talk about where you are going and who you are going to meet or who you are going with, and talk about your traveling experience is to go to the place by car, by train, by boat, by airplane, and so on. And talk about the season. Probably it's better to go there in winter or in summer. And the fourth way to talk about your traveling experience is to talk about the taboos when you travel. And taboo is something you avoid doing or you avoid seeing or you avoid saying, and talk about the taboos that you know when you travel. And I can give you some example. For example, if you want to talk about traveling is important, then you can talk about how traveling helps you relax or helps people relax, and what does traveling experience bring to people. Maybe it brings a lot of happiness to your family, and you can talk about that traveling experience, and whether you think traveling keeps your family member close to each other or keeps your classmates close to each other, if you think the graduation trip is very important in your life. And you also can talk about the traveling experience in your childhood, whether the specific traveling experience helps children learn, helps you learn, for example, and what do you really learn from traveling. And children usually meet their family members or their relatives or their classmates all the time from Monday to Friday. But when it comes to the weekend, if you can travel somewhere, maybe you can meet strangers, meet different people. And I think that is also a very important part of learning in our life. And the second way to do this discussion is to talk about an unforgettable experience. So if you have already had one and you want to share with others, you can talk about where you went, who you went with, and how did you go there. For example, by car, by train, by boat, or maybe you go mountain hiking. And you can talk about how long was that trip, was that experience, and also what interesting things happened when you travel. So all these combine together to make the travel experience so unforgettable. And if you want to do it in a third way, you want to talk about a future traveling plan in your mind, then you also can talk about where you are going, the city better or the country, and talk about who you are going to meet or who you are going to go with, and talk about how you are going there. If you are going to go to a foreign country, and of course you usually have to take an airplane first, and if you go to Canada, after you fly there, you probably take a ferry to go to Victorian Island. And you also can talk about who you are going to see or what you are going to see, and also talk about what you dream about experiencing. For example, food, for example, local souvenirs, or for example, you are able to use a specific language to talk with local people, and what exactly makes you decide to go to that city. That is something you can cover. And if you do it in the first way, you talk about the taboos when traveling, and you probably have ever had an experience when a traveling or a trip failed, and talk about how the trip failed. For example, you argued with your sister, or probably your parents disagree with each other in some ways, so that's why everybody was not happy. And of course, you can also talk about what makes a trip successful. What are the factors? For example, people are very important, food is very important, or the place where you go is very important. And you also can talk about some taboos that you know. Maybe you haven't really experienced that, but you read from books, and that's why you know that there is something you have to avoid doing when you go to a certain countries. Or when you go to a certain countries, you have to be very careful about your gesture. For example, okay sign doesn't always mean okay in every country in the world. Sometimes it means money and so on. And you also can talk about some bad things that may happen if you are not careful, if you don't know those taboos. And you can talk about what should we avoid doing when you go to the country or when you go to meet a specific people. And some other things you may cover is to talk about, not everybody enjoy traveling long, traveling far. But if you enjoy something else, for example, you enjoy going camping or hiking or sailing, biking, and so on, and you can talk about those experiences when you go outdoors. And you also can talk about why people say that it's better to travel 10,000 miles than to read 10,000 books. And this seems to be a Chinese proverb, right? What does it really mean? Do you agree? Why? Or you can also talk about he who would travel happily must travel light. This is probably an English proverb and what it means. And personally, I have that experience. If you carry too many things with you, and then you risk losing part of the things, then once you lose something when you travel, and that is going to be a lot of trouble. If you lose your passport, if you lose money, if you lose your camera, if you lose your cell phone, that is going to be a lot of trouble. So that is why someone says that he who will travel happily must travel light. Better carry just enough things with you. Do not carry too many things. I hope you enjoyed topic discussion this week. Thank you.
加入超凡远距，成就超凡英语缩写能力。